Hey guys, welcome back. So what I'm going to do in this video is carry on with the repair to the first 328 of the two that I started a couple of videos back. So let's get on with it. Hi guys, well I've been doing a little bit of work on the Spectre video that had the video problem. Now I've desoldered the chip and I put a socket in, put the chip back in, powered it up. I've taken the keyboard header off and ribbon off, sorry, and put a header cable on there because I'm going to do that anyway. But put it all back together and I thought I'll try it out and see what's going on to see if I get any signal after doing the video chip. And so I turned it on and nothing. There wasn't even a click from the audio, which usually tells you power's on. So I thought, well, that's not right. So I went to check for voltage along the 5 and the, I'll try and get you in a bit more, right, along the 5 and 12 volt regulators here, and there was nothing. Ground to the input, ground to the input, ground to the output, nothing at all. So I thought, well, that sounds like it's power. So I went over to the fuse and I measured from here, there was nothing, but over to here there was 24 volts. So that told me the voltage was there and not here. So that was the fuse. So I popped the fuse out and metered it, and yeah, the fuse had gone, and it's a slow blow, so it's hard to pick up at times. So replace that fuse and put a, generally when you upgrade these, if you're going to put anything on the cassette port like a TZX Drino or a SPI CAS or something like that, it pays to upgrade the fuse that's in these, and a lot of the times they come with a 300 milliamp fuse, but a lot of those devices pull more than that through them and the fuses will blow, and then you think, oh, the machine's dead, but it's not. So I usually upgrade them with a 2.5 amp or a 3 amp fast blow, and you'll be fine running that stuff through the cassette port. So I put that back in, fired it up, and then I got the click on the from the power on sound, but nothing else. So I thought, well, I'll check the voltage. So I checked over here, had the plus 24 in, checked on the output, had the 12 volts, and I checked on the 5 volts, and I had 12 volts coming in, but I had nothing coming out. And I thought, oh, there's something wrong with that. So I thought, oh well, I'll replace it. I've got plenty of these 7805s. So I've just been through desoldering it, and I'll zoom you in. I'm not sure if you're going to see this or not, but it's this one here. Desoldering it, and one leg. I'll just put my glasses on. And the second leg from the regulator. Now this is what I don't like about the way they mount these. On this plate that comes up on an angle in the case, with a bit of moving around, because these are only copper, they snap. And this is what's happened. So both the input and the output pins are both snapped off of the regulator. I'm going to take that one out and replace it with another one. I've got spares up in the shelf up there. I'll do that. But I just thought I'd let you guys know. See, there's things like this, because this is old gear and the way they put it together caused an issue. Now once I've done this, I'll give it another go and see if the screen comes up. If not, I think it might be try another processor in here. I've got some up there I will try. If that doesn't work, then what I'll do is I'll look around here to see if it's the transistor or one of these ICs that's in the circuit going over to here that may have had an issue. If not, the other thing it could be is this RAM here. Now this is like the ColecoVision. This was the older style RAM that had 12 volts and 5 volts and minus. And as with the Coleco, if any of this has got an issue, out, do an adapter on the 64K RAM and turn it into 16s, drop it in here, and it only needs the 5 volt rail. You don't need the 12 and the minus. So it's a good upgrade to do, and it's just a matter of bending a few pins and soldering, and then they can go straight back in. But I will actually put sockets in for here, so at any date, if they go faulty again, they can be replaced. But I will try to take these out without damaging them, because I have a board that I did a couple of years ago where everything is socketed on it, and I did that on purpose for testing chips and that in it. And so that's like if I got a faulty processor or Z80 and I don't know if it works, I can drop it into this board, and if the board fires up and runs, the Z80 processor is fine. Well, at least to 4 megahertz anyway. But just things like that, you know, the 8255, then there's the sound chip. These are proprietary, so unless you know what how the PLA has been fused, it could be anybody's guess. But any of the other discretes, and that's another video we may have to do, is I do have a retro IC tester, one from the Vintage Computer Museum from over in Europe, and I've still got to put that together. So I've got that in the back room which I've got to dig out, and that could be another thing to do if we're finding there's things on here that are not giving us what we need and the EEPROM programmer won't read them. We may have to look at putting that together, so we've got something to test them on to see if they are faulty or not. Alright guys, what I'll do is I'll dig this out and replace it, give it another test, and then if I'm still having issues, I'll come back to you and we'll talk about where we're going to go from there. Okay, see you soon. So guys, I've gotten that off. The centre pin snapped, I've taken it off the backing plate. But I'm looking at the aluminium plate, and there's just about no heatsink on either of these at all. Now I've only got one 7805, so I'm going to have to get some more. But I've got the 7812s. Even though that's working alright, I'm just a bit worried to whether there's been any stress on the leads. And I'm just wondering, it looks like it doesn't have very much heatsink compound under it either. I'm wondering if I should just replace it. Do both of them. Get them out of the way. Then I know I don't have an issue. And these aren't expensive. So I usually buy them in a pack, and it goes from the 7.8s to the 7.9s, from 5 volts to, is it 15 volts or something like that? I can't remember now. I usually buy them on eBay in a pack, and you get about 5 or 6 of each. Easiest way to do it. So I only need the 7805, so I might grab a 10 pack of those or something and see how we go. Some of those may be some 12s, because I can never guarantee that it's either one of those two that might have gone. Alright guys, I just thought I'd get you back in and let you know that. So that's what I'm going to do, and then once we've sorted this out, I said I'll fire it up and let's see if that's fixed our problem. And hopefully it has. If it hasn't, then we're going to have to delve a bit deeper into it. Alright, I'll see you shortly. Okay guys, so what I've done is I checked the 12 volt one, and that's fine. The legs seem to be fine on it. So what I did is, after desoldering it, I just cleaned it up, put some heatsink compound on the heatsink, and screwed both of these on and soldered them back in. So I'm going to plug it in. Not going to worry about the keyboard, because I'll get a picture without it. So I've got it all plugged back up again. I'll just zoom this out. So it's all plugged back up again, and what I'm going to do is put some power on it, turn it on, and that's the dead one of course, and see if I get anything out of it. So hopefully this will give us a bit more and it will boot up. If not, I might have to check the -12 and just make sure there's not a problem with that. So I'll do that. So I'll plug this in now, and then we'll power up the power supply. And so I've got this going through my light bulb tester as well, so it isolates everything. So turn that on, turns the screen on. I'll just wait for the screen to warm up. Okay. Yep, got a beep. So that seems to be working, except I'm getting an orange screen with white. So there's something going on with this colour. So that could be the VDP that's got an issue. So that could be that, or it's in here, it's in the combiner circuit that may have an issue. So what I'll do is, now that this is actually booting up and giving us a picture, I'm just having to hold this down because, as I was telling you earlier, that some of these sockets get a bit sloppy and they don't make a very good connection. But what I'll do is I'll enlarge the small camera and I'll show you the screen. And so that's the screen I'm getting. That's the orange. It's an orange and white screen, but it's booted up to basic, so that's cool. At least we know this one is working to a point. Just zoom. You don't want to see my face. I'll just zoom me back out. What I'll do is I'll power this down and I'll try a good one of those out of the one that I'm putting the Tang Nano in. If that gives us a colour picture, then it's probably the combiner on this board that's got an issue. If it still gives us the orange and white, it's going to point to it's probably the VDP or a RAM that's got a problem in here maybe. Alright, so I'll do that. I'll dig that other board out and we'll try that. Okay, so I've got that all plugged in. So this is the other one. That was the one that I had on it before. This is one out of the good working one. I'll turn you around to the screen so you can see what I see when I power it up. And make it a bit bigger for you. Let's try and get you lined up. Whoa. Alright. Don't get too seasick, guys. Yeah, that's coming out in a really nice picture. So that to me says there's something on that board, and it's probably the combiner IC, which is the TB 520, I think it is. So I'm pretty sure I've got some of those somewhere. I'll have to have a hunt for it and dig it out. Failing that, this board can probably go in there because the machine I'm doing with the HDMI in it is not going to need that anyway, because I'm going to have the audio going over HDMI. So I'll put you back up on the screen and carry on. So guys, at least we've got a picture on it. I'm waiting. That's the unit there. I don't have any of the TBA 520s, and I've got some and they shouldn't be too far away. The other thing I have done is I've taken the keyboard out of its frame and taken it off and desoldered the old cable out of it to make up a new one. One thing is when you're taking this horrible glue off the other side of the board, is I find these pins, and they're dressmakers pins. They have the little round ceramic head on them and they're a long thin shaft. Really, really good for cleaning out holes. Because when you clean these up, they're covered in this horrible glue on this side. And generally, I get underneath and pick it up, and then I'll use a single-sided razor blade to go through and cut it all off. But when you do that, the glue goes down the holes. And if you leave it there and you push your pins through, the glue comes through to this side. And when it comes over to this side, when you try to solder it, it mixes and it makes a mess to try and get a decent connection with. So what I do is I clean it up as much as I can, and then I get one of these dressmakers pins and I go through the holes from the solder side. So I'm pushing the glue out. Because these are a single-sided board, you push it out. Now, the pins that go back in here are not much bigger than this, so they will go through the hole without pushing that glue back through. I go along one at a time, just push them through. When you get it in, you pop it in the hole, and I just wiggle it around in an oval, and that just cleans all the glue out of it. And I go along each of these solder pins, and that just makes it a nice clean hole. Just something to remember to do with stuff like this. I know there's a lot of machines that had this type of cable in them. The Spectra videos were bad for it. Even the 728s had it. It's not nice. It desolders easy. I've taken it out, given it a clean on the top before this one comes off. So these are in two pieces. Some of the very, very early ones were actually one piece with these lines through them that you could take them off in bits, but this was actually separated and in two pieces when I took it apart. And then I just gently took this one up without tearing it anymore. And the thing is, you can just look under here to make sure everything looks clean if you want to. Clean cotton buds, clean IPA, give it a rub down and then a wipe over with a clean handy towel, and the same for the little black carbon units on the buttons as well. You can do those as well. Get those and get those all done. So I just thought I'd let you know about that. I mean, I did tell you guys about this a while ago, so I thought I'd just remind you about it. For slightly bigger holes, you can then use things like push pins, because your fingers don't get as hot with these, but these are for a lot bigger hole. They won't fit through these, so these two things are really handy. So they can go back up there. I just have a bit of blue tack on top of my soldering station. I push those into. On another note, on this unit here, the transistors in here, they're a SS915, and I thought I had some of these for another project I was doing, an Amiga or something, and I don't seem to find them. So I went through and looked for all the equivalents that you could get, and there were quite a few different ones that you can get that are equivalent to it. But the ones I had, and I had a transistor set I got off AliExpress years ago. It was a couple of bucks, and of all the models that were in here, there was only about 3. They all had the same pin out. They were all the same package. But there was only 3 of them that were compatible, which is pretty good compared to the amount they gave us. But out of all of them, only one was so close to being the original for its specs, and that was the 2N2907. And this little kit comes with 10 of each in it, so I've got plenty of them in here. So what I will do is I will take the transistors out. If I can put the originals back in, I will. And then what we will do is we'll take it out and I'll use my transistor tester and we'll test it to see if they're any good. Yeah, it is flat. I've got to charge it up. So, or just run it off the USB. So yeah. So what we'll do is we can pop them out. It's labelled on the board what pins are what, and I've written it down anyway, and the ones I've got there are the same pin out, identical pin for pin, so I know they go in the same. What I will do is try those, I think, and then we can try it back in the board and see if it makes any difference to the colours. If it doesn't, then I'm picking it'll be the TBA 520 that needs to be changed. Because there's nothing really else on here that could have gone wrong out of those. If that is it, I'll take that off and I'll put a socket in there, and then when the new ones come in, it's just a matter of dropping them in, just in case I get a faulty one or a faulty batch. I'm not soldering, desoldering, because these old boards, this one I've had to do a repair on it, because desoldering the old wire out of here, one of the tracks just came off. the quality of some of these etched boards back then, and you're talking about the early 80s, wasn't great quality. Some of these boards that had better quality on the keyboard, because that's all gold plated. That was a lot better quality. But these must have been done as a cheapie somewhere, and they're not that great. You don't want to solder or desolder more than a couple of times, because otherwise you start lifting tracks, lifting pads. The adhesion of the copper on the board was not great. That's why I like putting header pins on and things like that, because it's not so much stress on these old boards when you want to take them apart, clean them, repair them, and you're having to desolder everything and then resolder everything, and then find you got to do bodges to them to fix them and so forth, so which can cause more problems. But anyway, I digress. I've got those and I've got those. I've got that to finish off. I'm going to do the keyboard first, and you don't need to watch me do that. If you want to see how to do that, look at some of my earlier videos on doing the keyboards on the 328s. So I'm just going to do that and get that ready and out the way, and then I'll get on to doing this, and I'll video this one when we get round to doing this one, and hopefully the parts for this will be in before we need to do another video, and then put this on the back burner again. But anyway, plenty to do, plenty to get on with. I'll clean up and get into replacing these transistors, testing them. If they're faulty, we'll replace them with new ones. If they're not, we'll put them back in, pop that chip out, put a socket in. Alrighty, see you shortly. Yep, well that one reads fine, so that actually reads as a BJT PMP, as you can see on the screen there. I'll just zoom you down. So it's a, as I said, yeah, it's a BJT PMP, so that works out and says that it's fine. And I mean, this is a nice little cheap tester as well. It'll do IC, well, it'll do basic ICs, but it'll do transistors, resistors, diodes, any of that sort of gear it'll do. It does have a CMOS battery in it, as far as, well, not a CMOS, but a some sort of rechargeable battery in it. I'm pretty sure it does. But I think it may need to be replaced. I've had this for quite a few years, but you can still buy them cheap, and I mean you can pick them up on places like Temu, Wish, AliExpress, and you're paying like about $3 or $4 for them, maybe $5 for them, cheap as. So what I'll do is, that one's alright. I think he can go back in. One thing I noticed with this is when I was desoldering it, the pads were starting to lift on here, and there's one here starting to lift, and this one, when they've made it, that goes right through here, but it's like it's cut right on the corner of the copper there. So it's like if that breaks across from that to that, then this is going to get disconnected. And that's what I'm saying. A lot of this stuff was not very good quality, and that's why you want to sort of do as little soldering and desoldering on these if you're having to replace things all the time. So that one there, I might have to run a bit of a wire across that to make sure. I mean, I could put a new one of those in with the longer legs and bring the longer leg across there if I wanted to, but that tests fine, so I think that'll be okay to go back in. And then I'll take this other one out and check it and see what that one's like. And if that's okay, then I think it's going to be this here. We'll have to pop it out. This won't test it because this is a combiner chip and this is not intelligent enough to actually check it. This will have to come out, and then what I will do is replace it with another one when they come in, I think, if both of these transistors are fine. So there's not really much else I can do to see if there's anything wrong with it other than those. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's anything else underneath here that could be a problem. I will do that. I'll put this one back in and I'll pop this other one out and we'll try it. Right, so what you saw me doing there is that when I was looking at all the pins on the board, I actually noticed that they looked like they were very minimalist solder on them, and it was like very, very low. It was only just. So I thought, well, maybe I should. There's another one there like I touched up, and it's got a hole on one side of its pins, and I'm pretty sure that's the IC we're having issues with. Now that's filled it. So I'm just wondering if some of this problem could have been the soldering on the board. And they were also very dull looking. They weren't shiny, which they should be if it's a good solder joint. So yeah, so it's both the ICs. I've gone through and done those. So I will try it again, I suppose. We'll just try it again and see if that fixes our problem. And if it does, it could have been just a bad joint. I might do that. I might plug the board back up and we'll give it another try. And let's see if we get any joy out of it. If not, I'm picking if that transistor's okay. I'm picking the other. So I mean, if that transistor's okay, I'm picking this other one is going to be fine too, and it's probably this combiner if it still does it, but we'll try it. Okay guys, one thing, I'll just zoom you out actually. One thing to remember with these is that put the earth on. You need to have that earth lead onto this board because there's no earth going through this, and if you don't, it won't work, okay? Because you need that ground point. I'm all plugged up, that's all in, so I'll fire her up for the screen to come up. And then I'll turn it on, and no, it's still giving me the orange. It's still the orange and white screen, unfortunately. Sorry guys, you can see it just in the corner behind my head. So yeah, it is still that, so yeah. It didn't fix it. I'm picking it probably is this chip that's got an issue. I could try adjusting the red and yellow and the blue and yellow to see if that fixes our problem. I don't think it will. It may do. Just want to try and get this to stay on so I don't have to keep holding it down when I plug it in. Yeah, I might have to put something, a bit of weight on that to hold that down. And no, big enough blade. You should really do these with a non-ferrous one. That's giving me black and white. I'm picking it probably is that IC has got an issue, because none of those adjusters tend to do anything. I'm picking it as probably in here somewhere. There'll be something in that chip. So I'm picking that's what we're going to have to change. I think it's a little warm. Not hot, but yeah, I'm just thinking, because the other one I can put it on here and I get all the colours out of it. Oh, I can take out and test this transistor, but I'm picking that's not going to be the issue. I'm pretty sure you're going to find it'll be in here. I will give it a go just to double check, and from there I think, yeah, our only other option is to replace that chip. And as I said, I don't think I've got any here. I may have something. The MSX I did had a different model of that chip. I'll have a look at the specs and just to see if they're compatible. If they're compatible, we could try just swapping one of those in for now until the proper ones get here. We might look at that. So I might check that out and see how we go there. Alright, so I'll turn this off and put this back aside and pull out and check this other transistor out and see how we go. Okay, I've done that and checked that one, and it's fine as well. So as I was thinking, yeah, I didn't need to replace them. And I was thinking myself that it was probably to do with the combiner chip. I'm going to go through and desolder that, and I'll grab a 16 pin dip socket for it, and I will pop a dip socket in there, and then gonna have to wait until the chips turn up. Unfortunately, I will carry on and do that. The legs do look a bit tarnished on it, but that doesn't really mean anything. I do know that when they get oxidization in the chips, that where it goes into the plastic package, if they oxidize along the pins, it can travel inside. So, but that looks okay, and it's not going to be the RF module here, because that is only for the aerial out on it for the TV tuning. all this goes through to over here. It doesn't actually go through the rest of it. I mean, it could have something to do with the 7404. I wouldn't have thought so. That's usually the combiner chip. I do have those. I'm not going to run down that rabbit hole before we actually try the combiner chip, because I've got a funny feeling that's where our problem is. I will grab a socket and I will socket that, and no doubt we will see you guys back at this when the chips turn up. So I'll go and do that, and guys, as I always say, have a great day, have a great week, and until next time, ciao.